hunterace taking on Kolento in our 4th match of the day. We have 2 more matches that are coming up after this. Of course, it's a 6-match Sunday here for the European region. And so let's go ahead and dive straight into this one. A big match taking place between 2 of the best records that we had in the European region from last season. And they're having to get going very early on in Season 2.
Yep, 10-4 on both sides throughout the league season. hunterace, really, all of that was backloaded. It was basically just a clean sweep through the second course of round robin. He had a 7-0 streak through the second half, 3-4 in the first half. So absolutely a tale of 2 halves when it comes to hunterace. He really peaked at the right time, and it looked for a moment like he was going to, run all the way through that playoff bracket as well until Fino ended up being the one to take it all down, book the spot at BlizzCon.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the goal for him right now. We haven't seen a World Championship victor be back to the World Championship to defend their title. That's something that has not happened yet. And so being able to see hunterace potentially at a global final, that's something that really excites me about this. It's a very different system than what we had in the past. And so I think that global finalist spot is it's just different in regards to what it is. But for hunterace here, this is, I think, a chance to set himself differently than he did in his first season, where he needed to have that back half go super well to secure such a good record, because the first part of his season didn't go so well. It was a different format with Specialist, and I think it took him a little bit of time to get that working before he found the perfect understanding of it and then started just bringing the right decks seemingly every single week versus what his opponents were bringing. Here now we're back in Conquest with just that bit of a kicker in the protection phase. And so looking at his lineup with Mage, Paladin, Priest, and Warrior, he's facing off against Kolento, who, rather than having the Paladin deck, has the Hunter deck, the Highlander Hunter instead. And for me, Holy Wrath Paladin is the deck I've had my eye on, because at times it has looked absolutely amazing, and at other times it has looked absolutely abysmal. And I'm just not sure what's causing that to be the case. Could just be the nature of the deck, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's not a massively played deck in the metagame currently means that there's still a great deal of refinement still to be done in the way that the deck's built. You can see hunterace playing Subdue in his deck, playing Zephyrus the Great in his deck. Very, very different from what we saw even Pavel playing just a couple of series ago, which was a much more old school list with more direct damage cards thrown in there with the Hammer of Wraths and True Silvers. So there's still some work to go. I know even like Dog was experimenting early on with a build that included some of the newer cards. Sahat's Pride, is that the name of the 3/1 Tiger that will draw more 1 health minions from your deck, so you have even more card draw that way alongside Christology. So there's been a lot of ways that this deck has been put together even through the early days of Savers Oldham.
Yeah, and here you're taking a look at that shield phase, and that's what that Divine Shield over one of the classes represents. At the start of the match, you protect one of your decks where it's ineligible to be banned away. Then from there, you ban one of your opponent's classes, and then you play a best-of-3 match, where once you win with the deck, it's no longer able to be played in that series. And so we're kicking things off now. hunterace starting with Mage, the Reno Mage, and Kolento starting off with his Highlander Hunter.
Yeah, we didn't mess around there. From the moment we saw the players to in-game, it's about 10 seconds. We're just getting through the day, Admirable.
Yeah, we're just getting through the day. That's how I like to look at my entire life, just getting through the day. Every day I'm with Soddle, just trying to get through the day.
Just wake up, Zart. Here we go again. So many hours before I can go back to bed again. Oh.
Well, that's just true regardless of what time I'm awake.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Kolento with an interesting early start. I'm always lost on Sunreaver Spy. Like, I always want to wait and get the +1/+1 buff on it. And then I look down and I go, wait a minute. That's just slowing me down if I do that. You gotta get 3 attacks from the 2/3, you gotta get 2 attacks from the 3/4 for that damage to be equal.
Yeah.
I don't want to set the explosive trap on 2 then, unless I want some bluff equity.
Yeah, yes, that is one way of looking at it, but the equation kind of changes depending on what deck you're playing against, and like, can they deal with 3 health as opposed to 4 health, right? Like, that can be a big difference. A 2/3 might land on the board and just play directly into, backstab plus dagger from a rogue or whatever else it is, frostbolt from a mage, whereas waiting for a 3/4 then becomes a lot more awkward just in terms of lining up your opponent's removal against it.
Yeah. Also, with Kolento's particular hand, I apologize for the spectator issues. We're getting them fixed as quickly as we can. It would delay his timing on Hunter's Pack as well. With that in hand, I'm curious if he's going to favor just the old River Croc into Hunter's Pack to try to get the job done. The Hunter, I think, is one of those decks where if you mess up a single turn of mana development, it can just absolutely change the scope of the game and how the rest of it pans out. You know, the nature of your hero power is that there is no defense involved with it. It is damage the entire way through and through.
He river crocked him. It's in play. Hitting away for 2. You saw the curve exactly as Admirable described. 2-3 into the Hunter's pack. Vile Brood Skitterer. Not since the days of Deathstalker Rexar have I seen that card be relevant in any way.
Interesting pickup here for Kolento as well.
In fact, he found a Eaglehorn Bow specifically off the Hunter's pack. That is kind of the best one.
It's pretty common right now. Headhunter's Hatchet, Eaglehorn Bow, Gladiator's Longbow. That's it, right?
Desert Spear.
Desert Spear. Ah. Oh, I've never seen that one from a Hunter's pack. You mean tell me this whole time they could have been getting Desert Spears instead of Eaglehorn Bows?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm upset. Curious to see if Hunterace is more interested in battling for board than the early Lunas. It's a pretty drastic difference to keep a 4-3 in play.
What to do? What to do?
Yeah, it's about weighing up 2-turn tempo, right? Like if you keep a 4-3 in play, how often does it like stick to the board and leave you in a better spot to play Lunas on the turn after, and then weighted that against one extra card draw that does not receive the Lunas buff. So it's not really a simple thing to divine the correct option. But I think if in doubt, play the Lunas is not a bad mantra to live by at the moment.
Created Explosive Trap, so Kolento does not give away any of the contents of his hand.
Well,
yeah, the Lunas was good.
Yep. Like I said, weighted against one extra card.
That's the thing, though, is maximizing opportunity. You know, I think that's probably one of the biggest stories I've seen just of this opening week of Grandmasters, is that the players who are maximizing their opportunity are finding payoffs, and it's making a colossal difference.
What to do?
Hunterace having to fight against a lot of different angles with the Hunter secrets. If this one's just a created by one, it could literally be any of those secrets. You add in the ones that are active from the Contender. The package for Kolento is Explosive, Freezing, Pressure Plate, Rat Trap, Snake Trap, Snipe.
Yeah, again, the explosive trap, is making an appearance. Not one that has always been there.
What to do?
Now you see Hunterace's coin 5 line kind of always led him into this position where he was going to play the other 5 in Ziliax on the following turn. Secrets have offered quite a lot of disruption in terms of doing that.
You see that initial animation, you go, no! You see Snake Trap and you go, yes!
I mean, I don't know whether it's outright celebration to see Snake Trap there, but certainly not freezing is paramount in your sensibilities there.
It's the post-animation reaction.
Yeah.
See the animation, please don't be freezing.
I'm gonna win big.
Woo!
All right. Can I take all 3? Is that an option?
No. You can dismiss all 3 if you'd like.
That's the opposite of what I want to do.
Well, then take the one you want the most.
I think it's Unleash the Beast.
Look, the Scoundrel already said they were going to win big, and now you're being greedy about it. You won big. Take the win. I was thinking Deadly Shot would have been okay here.
Yeah, Deadly Shot would be pretty sick.
Quickly. I wonder.
Wow, he took the mystery choice.
Whoa!
So Kolento was... I see that sly little smile on his face where he's like, you know, if I hit this Deadly Shot, it's pretty good. It's not wrong.
Yeah. Calicos, yep. Yep.
That is disgusting. He can make 12 attack this turn and freeze the board if he wanted to.
And have spent 2 mana in that process.
What
That's
to
just
do?
not fair.
Oh, by the
What to
way, 8
do?
damage to your opponent in that equation as well that we didn't mention.
Or 10 damage to yourself.
I mean, yeah, sure. Sign me up. I mean, why don't you
What
want
to
to Calic
do?
Ghost this turn is
What
my
to
question.
do?
I think hunterace is just trying to visualize the sequencing of everything.
Time runs out on me.
He wants. He's okay. So he's going to spend on Frost Nova in case it's a pressure plate, so that way he doesn't lose one of these minions after the fact.
Oh, that's really smart.
News that it's snipe instead, and now having seen that that is snipe, he now knows that that other one isn't pressure plate, which I think is why he was then leaning towards the Ray of Frost to come down afterwards. I think that's correct based on the information that hunterace has right now.
My idea with that was he wanted to Ray of Frost a Rat Trap.
Mm-hmm.
Should it come out? Because that would have been the third card.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm not sure he actually had the animation time to execute that if it would have come up.
Right, would have been close for sure. Really tricky turn, though, for hunterace. You see, like, a lot of things he got right there in terms of the concealed information.
Yeah, and it's about to all go right, I think, as well. Kolento needs to come up with a major turn here. And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing this start off with a Vile Brood Skitterer to wipe out one of these. And then that's about it.
And then Seigo. Which one are you taking care of as well? Does it have to be the big one?
I'm getting the bigger one.
Okay.
Now, the thing about this is I want to go back to Kolento's mystery choice turn and talk about how absolutely correct that was. Because if he's able to kill that Ziliax with a deadly shot or with an arcane shot or what have you, he gets... hunterace is going to have 3 less health just from the life restore, and that Eagle Horn bow charge would have gone face as well. So hunterace just would have been at 6 less life to start this turn.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go looking back, and the Unleash the Beast is an attractive option because it's so much from one card.
Yeah.
But being able to kill that Ziliax without attacking it, I think was paramount to Kolento being able to win this game. And so looking back, I think the risk that he took on that was absolutely correct and such a brilliant option.
It's very fair, yeah, because essentially what he was offered was 3, or at least 2, Dire Frenzy and Unleash the Beast. Very powerful cards, but very slow and value-based in usage. And slow, long-term game plans aren't going to work when your opponent is a mage who coined Pocket Galaxy on 4. You need to get something done now, and none of those cards were really a now option. Again, hunterace is face down with a new secret that could be any of the things that he's already been testing for. Guess what?
Snipe.
It's a snipe again.
I imagine he's interested in generating a second fireball here. Is he interested in attacking?
Yep. Pushes the 4. You gotta push the 4. You gotta push the 4. No?
I'm pretty surprised he didn't push the 4.
You have 2 fireballs in hand.
He just realized that.
3.
That has to be that look, right?
There's not, and there's no, so it says is explosive trap, which it is. That takes you down to 20. There's 6 in play showing from
It's
Kolento.
freezing trap. You just lose a 4-8? I mean, I guess you lose the 4-8 if you bank it on freezing trap anyway.
Yeah.
I would have risked this because
Like if
it connects, you win.
Yeah, if it's freezing trap, you're going to get a big minion frozen because that's all that's in your deck at this point. Like,
I just love the absolute disgust of the thought of it. You're like, what? You're gonna lose a big one.
but you are. It's just a fact. Like, what are you gonna do? Try and get your voodoo doll frozen instead?
That attack can come back to cost hunterace a lot,
Yep.
or rather the lack thereof.
Then again, maybe not. Relicologist,
Oh!
that Twilight Drake.
Wow.
Pretty sure there's a Twilight Drake.
Oh, it
somewhere.
was. He's hovering it over the
Where
board
is
right
it
now.
gone? Hello?
Might have rocketed into play so fast that that it caused a spectator.
Hey, there it is. What on earth?
That's one of those Twilight Drakes. If you were playing real cards, you draw it, you slam it on the table.
Yeah.
Winds of the south, come to my aid.
Taunt, yeah. Absolutely no reason for Wind Fury in that spot, I don't think. That would be absurdly greedy in the situation. Just get the taunt, play it safe, don't die this turn. Game over.
Yeah, Pocket Galaxy is a heck of a card.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be a whole new world next week, let me tell you.
I wonder.
Yeah, I don't even know what they're going to play. Hopefully something dazzling.
Rogue and
Something
Hunter.
new.
First and foremost, place your bets on a fair amount of Rogue and a fair amount of Hunter. I think we're going to see those. After that, it's anyone's guess.
That face on the far right card was my reaction to that last turn. Except replace those bees with Siamat and a Reno the Relicologist.
And an invisible Twilight Drake.
Well fought.
The invisible Twilight Drake's actually in that card art as well.
I was about to say, I was like, well, it's thematic to the last one. Hunterace, the Coin Galaxy, and able to defend himself afterwards. You know, Arcade Intellect probably factoring into the equation of the no attack with the Malagus as well. It just, in theory, it just pulls damage away from your face. So that way you have time to...
Well, that's what I was counting about whether that 2 damage ever like changed anything in the immediacy. And I'm not Hunterace. B, I don't have time to dive in as deep as he can. But certainly in the immediacy, that 2 damage didn't really seem to change anything. Whether it did over a couple of turns doesn't seem to matter, because if it's Explosive Trap, you've hit him in the face for 4. So then I guess it's Life Drinker that comes down that like changes the equation.
Well,
from Kolento, I don't know.
What I'm thinking of is just the fear that Kolento needs to kill that minion.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get developed on so hard that your opponent feels like they can just develop, they push at you and hope that it works that way.
Right.
So they want to kill the Kaligos, which means mana expenditure into that. So the Kaligos just being there represents pressure away from your face. It doesn't necessarily have to be attacking.
Yeah, sure. I can buy that.
All right, good. I'm glad you can. $2. That's it. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to get to game number 2 of Hunterace versus Kolento. Find out if Kolento can tie things up, or if Hunterace is going to run away with this one like he did in game number 1. Stay tuned.
I'm Facundo Pruso, more known as Nargidan. My username is an Illidan reference. I used to play Warcraft 3 a lot. Illidan is my favorite character. Back in the days, I really liked watching RDU stream as well. After I saw him for the first time on some DreamHack tournament, and then I got to beat him on some online tournament finals. That was my first tournament win, my first prize win. That was a very key moment for me in Hearthstone. I think I'm pretty good at recognizing what decks are good and how to improve them. I like the Su playstyle. Some people think it's like broke back deck, but then you have a lot of things to master, and there is a lot of little things in that deck that, of course, you can draw 1, 2, 3, 4 and kill an opponent, but that's not gonna happen every game, and you need to know how to improve your odds. I don't know if other players already respect me or not. In my region, I think they do. I'm not sure about the other Grandmasters. This year, I really want to qualify for Global Finals. I quite didn't make it last year, so that's the main goal. I hear a lot of players say first season wasn't that important, but I think it really is. If you win the first season, you made it to Global Finals.
Mazahidul Islam. I go by Muzzy in game. My username, as you know, my first name is Mazahidul. It's kind of difficult to say for some people, and every time someone calls you, they're gonna have to say, "Hey, Mazahidul." That's long, and you don't want to say that. My friend gave me a nickname, like, "Hey Muzz, hey Muzzy." So I sort of just took that and, name's Muzzy. I took a look at the list of players. Some of them have been more focused on streaming, I would say, in these past few years. I've participated at the highest levels of competition that they might not have appeared in. I'm the player to beat in my group, for sure. The thing that I most look forward to about competing in Grandmasters is the thrill of the competition. It's really why I play Hearthstone. It's what I've enjoyed doing for the past 3-4 years, and it's what I'll continue to enjoy doing, hopefully. I think Hearthstone Instinct is definitely my greatest skill set. I think that if I took a break for a while and didn't play the game and came back to new cards, I think I could pilot a new deck fairly well, fairly quickly. People would always mention the term burnout to me. Burnout, burnout, burnout. I didn't know what it was. I would constantly play Hearthstone all the time. I definitely want to have more titles and put my name in Hearthstone history.
Got to look at Nalguidan and Muzzy during the break, who will be facing off in our third match today of Americas. We have 6 total matches here in Europe, so you can catch it after that. And you can always stay up to date with the schedule at playhearthstone.com/esports. And that's Admirable. And I'm joined by Sottle. And Sottle, right now we have hunterace off to a 1-0 lead versus Kolento, who's looking to tie things up and secure himself a 2-0, as well as hunterace looking for that 2-0 this week as well.
Yep, both players picking up where they left off last season. As we mentioned leading in, both players very, very successful season 1. Both qualified for playoffs, 10-4 records each, and both picked up a win early on. But this time, looks like they're going head-to-head, and it's going to be a little bit tougher because this time around, Kolento is finding himself on the matchup that we saw last time of Warrior versus Paladin. But the difference is that hunterace does not have quite as much direct damage available to him as Pavel did last time, and we saw how fine the margin was last time. A single point of health or armor, or 2 points of health or armor, would have made all the difference in terms of board coming out of that match. And, well, if you compare the 2 decks, hunterace versus Pavel, hunterace is missing a lot more than that 2 damage.
Yeah, there's quite a bit a difference from the version that Pavel played to hunterace's. I want to talk about hunterace's Holy Wrath Paladin real quick. 1 copy of True Silver Champion, 1 copy of Hammer Wrath, 1 copy of Equality. In place of those cards, he's added an Acolyte of Pain, a Zephyrus the Great, and a Subdue. Now, there's another piece of card draw, I believe, that has been changed as well, where hunterace has been able to add in High Priest the Call into the deck as well. 3 mana, 3/4 replaces all but one of your remaining health with armor. The idea of that card is that you can extend your life total very high, and it's a 3 mana, 3/4. It's not like the worst thing in the world, this deck. Chipping away some damage is very relevant. However, that damage is not guaranteed, and you don't get to secure it unless you typically play it pretty early on in the game. So for hunterace, honestly, this is probably the version of Holy Wrath Paladin I've been the most critical of, is because I've yet to see Zephyrus actually make an impact in this deck.
Okay. I will admit that I haven't played around too much with Zephyrus in there myself, but I can definitely see the usefulness in theory. But yeah, just in general, like coming into the hand here, it's just a dead card that you're going to have to sit with for quite some time, as is the Baleful Banker, as is Cheval of the Tiger over on the far left.
Yeah, and when you're
facing a pretty slow one for hunterace.
And when you're facing down Eternium Rope, the Novice Engineer looks much less appealing in that regard. We honestly, we might be in 3-2 territory with this Zephyrus. Now that Prismatic Lens is probably going to change any thoughts of that whatsoever. Zephyrus, of course, reads if you have no duplicates remaining in your deck effectively. So you are free to play cards like Zephyrus and Dino Tamer Brand, etc. in decks that have duplicate copies, but their effect is not active until you've drawn at least one of the cards that you have duplicates of in your deck. And so Paladin, the nature of this deck is it always wants to get through its entire deck in almost every game plan it has. So Zephyrus does feel like a natural inclusion to me. It's just also felt like it's made the deck clunky.
I'm kind of into this Bloodfen Raptor idea, now that you bring it up.
Well, yeah. It's a Bloodfen Raptor. That's a good card. It's a good thing he didn't play Bloodfen Raptor.
That would have got punished incredibly hard.
I learned from Chalky years ago that 2-mana 3/2s can sometimes just get the job done.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Zephyrus is just such a powerful card. I am curious to see if we can get something done this game, because I feel like in addition to the matchup just being quite difficult, wow, really curious.
The armor pass here, yeah, it opens up Coin True Silver, Coin Hammer of Wrath, both possibilities to be able to take care of this Eternium Rover, which is a very, very crucial minion in terms of the huge armor gain.
Wonder if that's the idea. Let it die to True Silver, let it die to Hammer.
It's a good point. Actually, it's a good point, because that's technically 4 extra damage that you've gained off that Eternium Rover.
Huh.
When you look at it that way.
I think extending the life to 50, as you alluded to at the start, I mean, it's much easier versus hunterace, who, again, 1 Hammer of Wrath, 1 True Silver Champion. That's 11 less potential face damage that you have.
Yep. And less card draw on top of that as well, which means more... less card draw, arguable. The card is was Soup Vendor, that has essentially been replaced with that High Priest Ekal, which is a card draw effect. It's not one of the best card draw effects in the deck, but it is one, which means that, you know, hunterace might just be a turn or two slower getting down to the bottom of his deck than Pavel was, which means 1 or 2 more turns that Kolento gets to press that armor button. He's going to have an easier time, in my opinion, against this build of the deck than Ball Control did against Pavel's.
I wonder.
Difference of this format versus Specialist as well. You can't just, you know, play Holy Wrath Paladin and just have a bunch of greedy nonsense thrown into one of your side decks to then come in and take care of the warriors. You just have to have a main deck built for all purposes. With the terror of the Eternium Rover now gone, these Novice Engineers far more relevant on the board. Is operating on 10 cards right now, which means this Elven Archer is most likely going to have to just do something fairly innocuous, but it can matter. Take 1. That is relevant.
To me, one of the funniest parts of that card that's important is being able to have a True Silver play at the end of the game, and you Holy Wrath your opponent's face for 25, and then you swing True Silver and you throw Elven Archer at him.
Yep.
Another thing that it's possible in this matchup to do is get the True Silver through a taunt by having Subdue, Elven Archer, and the Baleful Banker with Cheval and Holy Wrath. A lot of weird, unique ways to have that Elven Archer be relevant. And this turn was beautiful looking with that Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah, it's nice, it's pretty, it's great, but it's still hunterace having to be on the back foot and clearing minions from Kolento, which is really not what he wants to be doing. He wants to be chipping away damage and drawing cards. That's the 2 things that are working in his favor right now.
It's true. To set up the card draw, though, you have to get cards out of hand.
Yep.
And in order to set up the attacks, you have to have clear skies.
Yep.
What now?
So this is, I think it was perfect mana. It uses some cards that oftentimes feel stuck in your hand because you need to hold them for a specific situation. You see how aggressively shield slams get used in this matchup.
Ball
Right,
Control
so-
in the same matchup earlier in the day used 2 shield slams on 2 1/1s in this matchup. That's how much every point of damage matters. So again, if you want to take a look at that Elven Archer and say, well, it doesn't do anything, just Elven Archer in the face. 1, he had to get the card out of hand to get there. 2, it absolutely does matter.
Wow.
Cheval of the Tiger in hand here for hunterace, which means the prismatic lens danger that I was talking about in the previous series for Pavel does not come into play.
Very interesting spot for hunterace as well, where he's favoring the timeout in hand over the Wild Pyromancer, and I think likely because of the idea of this dealing 3 damage, like that, I'm sorry, Yeah, 3 damage. I don't know why in my head the damage changed because the cost changed.
What would it have changed to?
Well, in my head,
3?
that's the thing. In my head, I said 3, and then I went, no, it's 2. And then I went, why would it be 2? And it went, because it's swapped. And I went, swapped what?
But it swapped to 3.
And I interrupted myself. And that was my thought process. I felt like I needed to explain myself in that manner. Can't just say dumb stuff like that and then correct yourself to the exact thing that you just said. Glad one of us can have a laugh about it. I'm embarrassed.
Oh.
That's kind of a joke.
Oh.
To be fair, I'm embarrassed all the time, so
Oh.
my natural state.
Bible thumps in chat.
No Dynamatic.
Shield slam number 2.
Why not Dynamatic, though?
Just not interested in having the board right now. Dynamatic is a go-to answer for a Shivala if it comes down much later in the game.
Oh, that's a true story.
It's also a mech base that's cheap enough to drop a Ziliax on later if he doesn't find an alternative to do that and needs the healing.
And High Priest the call.
I mean, what does it do, though, really, in the matchup?
It's a 3-4.
All right. Yeah. Good point. Well made.
I mean, I fully would have expected a Dynamatic. Maybe the call was exactly what Kolento was thinking about. He's like, oh, that's kind of a kicker to the matchup.
Yeah.
Crystal Smith Kangor as well. He's trying to make this look like it's a non-threatening little thing. Trying to get a little extra value out of it by slamming down that Thakal. Using the flashlight alongside of it.
Kolento just being so much more successful in his quest to gain 50 here. At least 2%, 250. That looked like a true silver, though. It was a true silver.
All right, and Hunterace now, I think, needs to be very much tunneled on the idea of starting to chip away at this life total.
Yep.
We're approaching that mark where it's worrisome.
What? You think you can take me?
It's the kind of matchup where I could see Zephyrus coming in clutch for the last few points of damage as well. Like, we talked before about how it was just a simple matter of 1 or 2 points of damage for ball control against Pavel. So if Kolento is on that line where he's just, 1 or 2 points of armor over, he doesn't just have to survive Holy Wrath into Holy Wrath anymore. He has to survive Holy Wrath into Zephyrus for burn on the turn afterwards as well.
Yeah.
That can make a difference.
Also, the Zephyrus, like,
now?
I mean, you've seen how often he offers Tyrion. Being able to connect to those Ashbringer swings. That can easily make up that damage from a True Silver or Hammer of Wrath.
Yeah. Very, very little weapon removal in the metagame at the moment.
Yeah. All right, I'm seeing its application. I'm convinced that this is probably a tech specifically for Warrior matchups. Perhaps against endgame of Mage as well. Being able to fetch a Twisting Nether on a turn they pop off.
Right. God. Perfectly into the turn where the True Silver hit the board. It's a disgusting prospect for Hunterace to have to try and chew his way through. And you see, Kolento just says, nope, not hitting that with my face.
You can see that he is not concerned with touching Hunterace's life total at all.
Nope.
And the whole reason is because Hunterace's big blast happens in one turn, and if that's not enough to win the game, then Kolento has assuredly won the game at that point.
Yes.
All he needs to do is eliminate the sources of damage that deliver him a lethal blow. That's it. And it's a very readily identifiable thing.
Yes.
Obviously, if you could do that every game, you just do that every game. It's rare that you could do that.
Hunterace eyeing his subdue this turn, trying to find some way to push through this safeguard, get damage to connect to face. It's not pretty either way you slice it. My save card was just such a perfect card in this spot. Just as the True Silver was drawn and played, just a brick wall of a minion was what Kolento needed to come down.
Considering the mana efficiency here with the Shrink Ray. Let's get the Acolyte of Pain down. And then you subdue so that the Acolyte has a target to attack into. Interesting.
Also means that if it stays alive, then Consecration just kills it on the next turn. And the True Silver can get back to doing what it really, really wants to do, which is smacking Kolento in the face.
Notice the difference in timing, too, of how quickly hunterace got through the deck, but how much more health Kolento's been able to establish.
Yeah. Yeah, Kolento all the way up at 46, but hunterace very deep in his deck. He hasn't been taking that time out to, you know, equip 2 True Silvers and throw them at face. That's the damage that Pavel was dealing, that was slowing him down by a turn or two. Also, Pavel just didn't quite have as smooth a card draw curve as hunterace has found himself with this game.
Yeah, lensed into a 25 cost prismatic lens.
Yep.
One equality remaining in the deck for hunterace.
It's a Holy Wrath.
That activates Zephyrus.
Yes, it does. Twisting Nether time. Pushes 4.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what ends up being best with Zephyrus. I mean, that does look very appealing to push 4. Kolento's at 48, and so, you know, the timing of all this damage and at the same time being able to deliver a lethal blow is very relevant. You know, Kolento's 2 health off of being at, you need both Holy Wraths to connect face to kill.
Yep.
At 51, you need a minion or a spell to connect as well.
Yep. We saw in hunterace's first game of the week that he's put some time in with Zephyrus in terms of understanding how to make it work. He found an inner fire position, which he said he's played a lot, and he only really sees it come up when you have Caligos on the board, so you have to look out for that! And he rips the equality.
It's 33%.
Of that flash of light. It was a 1 in 3-er, of course. Only 3 cards remaining, but that's the dream. Equality cons to push through. 2 extra damage from the Consecrate, 4 extra damage from the True Silver, and he still has that Zephyrus now as a backup plan for additional burn at the end of the game. 42 now Kolento is down at, but Eternium Rover has been drawn, the second Eternium Rover for Kolento. No Dr. Boom Mad Genius in play, though, which means he cannot guarantee that it picks up armor immediately.
We need Warpath.
Yep.
I think the turn here for Kolento is quite straightforward. Perhaps he's looking for a larger impact, though. Is 2 Morden armor up enough? You know, that's like your straightforward, obvious thing. Is that enough?
Well, I mean, hunterace goes next turn. That's the first thing you need to be aware of. There are 2 cards left, and there is an Acolyte of Pain on the board that you aren't drawing. So if you play a minion, he goes next turn.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Boom Reaver. What could it grab that makes a big difference here?
The answer was Eternium Rover before he drew it.
You know, it could still grab our Megadillo.
What now?
I think that matters.
Grab a Ziliax.
That matters. $44.
I'm almost out of cards.
And that's 25 incoming if hunterace wants to take that. Which, when your opponent needs 6 more armor to defend themselves in full,
I'm out of cards.
you do.
It's time to test your metal.
When does this Zephyrus happen? That's my question. hunterace certainly will be more familiar with this spot than I am. But there's always the option you can like weave it into one of these turns, right? Like before the Holy Wrath with a certain amount of mana left to like force a specific burn spell or something like that.
I guess my question is, what purpose is it attempting to serve if you use it right now?
Right.
Like the idea would be that you shut off a Ziliax from being enough of an impact. Right. That this happens. I don't. That's not there with Zephyrus right now.
Move quickly.
And so that tells me, if you see a Ziliax, you perhaps have something there. So now the last line of defense for Kolento is to either... Oh no, it has to be Frightened Flunky. It actually has to be Frightened Flunky.
Frightened Flunky into Ziliax.
It has to be that exactly.
No. Not there.
You know, we keep talking about how this matchup has been Warrior favored. I've been seeing this type of situation crop up a lot where you're so close to protecting yourself and it's just not there.
Yep. Well, 1-on-1 so far today. Admiral was alluding to, of course, Boom Reaver could have been played to pull out the Ziliax, but that would have only have healed to 3. There's no magnetic options when Boom Reaver just rips the card out of your deck, which means 3 healing not going to be good enough. 22 would be the total. Holy Wrath number 2 would end the game. So the only out there was Frightened Flunky, pick up the Ziliax, magnetize it onto your existing 2 Morden. Kolento's dead. hunterace 2-0. 2-0 in game score in this series. 2-0 in series score in Season 2. Picking up where he left off, the clean sweep all the way through. In terms of league play, he is now 9 consecutive wins.
Don't count the playoffs in that one, but in regular
in terms
season
of league play.
Regular season play.
Yep.
That is just darn impressive. Zephyrus never came into play. That's what I'm going to ask him about. I've never seen...
Spoilers?
I've never even seen Zephyrus.
I have to watch the interview now. I can just leave.
That's not true. You got to hear his answer.
Oh, good point.
What's he going to tell you? Well, he could just tell you that, well, I need to wish for the perfect card sometimes.
Yeah. If he drew a shield block, then I just fireball him next turn.
But that is something to think about there, though, is with Pavel having the extra damage and getting the wrong prismatic lens to land, he was able to push through because of his damage potential. Very well-timed tools at the end of the game to force through an attack on the weapon charge. For hunterace here, he's lacking that additional damage, and he's still able to get enough damage through.
Yeah, I will just add the caveat to that. Like, here's a dispassionate list of some cards Kolento did not draw that game. 2 shield blocks, Dr. Boom Mad Genius, a Warpath for his Eternium Rovers, Ziliax. None of those cards came out.
True story.
That sure helps in terms of like adding up to 50, and he was already right there. He was, what was it, 4, 5, 6 points away of being over that 25 again. Then, of course, he does have to deal with the Zephyrus coming down afterwards, which can change the equation again. But I think in terms of just such a polarized matchup, in terms of strategy where you just need the armor cards, if that's the plan that you're going for, he really just didn't draw any of the armor cards.
Yeah, it's a true story. Either way, hunterace is ready for a winner's interview here. hunterace, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys. How's it going?
It's going good. Congratulations on your win in this set. You start off to 2-0 in the first week here. And I want to zone in on your Holy Wrath Paladin deck and talk about this for a second. We saw it twice today. Twice it defeated Warrior, but with very different styles. Pavel was not including the Zephyrus in his list. Instead, opted for the double Holy Wrath and double True Silver Champion. You're opting for the Zephyrus. I want to know about the choice and about the Warrior matchup in general, because I keep seeing the Warriors lose.
About the OTK Paladin in general, I think it's a very strong deck. I feel very confident about a lot of the matchups in the current metagame. I got a loss with it, not yesterday, but at Friday versus Thais versus the Hunter matchup, which I also think is, or not also, but I think it's a very good matchup, so I felt a bit unfortunate there. The Warrior matchup, or rather versus the Control Warrior, is actually very close. I feel like a lot of the time it becomes a race, and the Paladin can go super fast. Also, in the specific game pan-out we had right now, I didn't even have time to play my Zephyrus because I reached a point where it just was more efficient to just not go for the Zephyrus. Normally you want to go for Tyrion or something. Instead here I decided to just hold him for the Soulfire out, so I would have had lethal for anything towards the end there. So, yeah, and Zephyrus in general I think is just a super solid card in the deck. It just feels good. It gives you a lot of different win conditions, and I played the Holy Wrath Paladin also in Master Soul, and I think a lot of the reason why I didn't perform as I wanted to, I think I performed okay, but it didn't perform as I wanted to, was that I just didn't know all the Zephyrus outcomes, and I think I ended up throwing some games and not knowing what my outs was, because it's insane how many strategies you can go for with the deck when you have Zephyrus in it. Because you also have the Banker, right? So you can always shuffle more Zephyrus. Oh. It's very interesting.
You're too smart. I didn't even think about that. That's too good.
It is. It's pretty sweet. What a deck.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, do you even remember who was the last player to beat you in like regular season play, not including playoffs? Do you remember?
Oh, that's a long time ago now.
That's what I'm saying. That's a long time ago. Because you went.
I like to not think. I like to not think about that. You know, I just
Right.
feel about that. Think about the positives. Now keep the streak going.
There you go. Because you
But,
went.
but I really don't remember.
No, I don't either. You went 7-0 sweep through the latter half, and you've gone 2-0 as an opener here. But like, how many more wins did you have before that? Like, how much of a winning streak are you on? It's getting pretty crazy at this point. It's just been a pleasure to watch you play, as always.
I have one more question before I let you go. I want to talk about the changes from Season 1 to Season 2. Do you feel like that's had an impact on your performance here? It seemed like early in Season 1, it took some time for you to really fully understand Specialists, and then as a result, pummel everyone afterwards. Here, you've started off 2-0 because it feels like you're right back at home playing Conquest.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I was very negative towards Specialist in the beginning, which might have affected my performance and my ability to actually prepare well in the format. So I think that might have been one of the big reasons I ended up doing so bad in the beginning of the last season. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty great about the new format. I don't think I've come close to solve it yet, but it feels super great to just being able to play multiple decks again. I've already played 3 different decks this weekend, so that's way more than we did with Specialist.
Yeah, that's how a multi-deck format works versus
there is.
single-deck format. All right, well, hunterace, it's always a pleasure watching you play, and I think that Zephyrus is one of those cards that's going to take a lot of people a lot of time to get used to, and you seem to be ahead of the curve. So congratulations on your 2-0 this week, and I look forward to seeing you play next week.
All right, see you guys later.
Further IQ patch coming as well for Zephyrus, where it should just get even better in the upcoming. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's the thing we're missing in the immediacy is you Baleful Bank, you Shivala for 0, you Baleful Banker for 2, you Holy Wrath for 5, you then play 2 more on the Zephyrus itself, which means you spent 9, which means you have 1 remaining, which means Soulfire can be thrown in on top of everything else just for a straight up 1-turn burst. Yeah.
That's what I would have done if I would have seen that, because that is quite smart. I think Zephyrus is one of the more skill testing cards that's in the game. And I think as time goes on, we're just going to see people continue to get better and better with it. And plus, it just changes the entire way that you can build a deck sometimes. Like, you could have Zephyrus actually open up win conditions in matchups that are not favorable. You don't have a way to close at the end.
Right.
Super cool card that I'm looking forward to seeing you play some more.